Hello, and thank you for tuning in to Between the Stacks, where we flip through pages of the community to discover artists, authors, and creatives here at home, proving you don't have to go anywhere to find amazing people. I'm Melissa, and this evening, we're going to settle down and discuss Finding the Joy While Still Feeling the Grief by local author Belinda Sheeley.
Hi.
Hi.
It's nice to be here. Thank you.
Yes, we are here after hours in the library.
I love this.
Nobody's here. We don't have to whisper.
Well, you know what? When I come to the library, it's seldom quiet. I love the little children running through here. I love that.
We are here today discussing Finding the Joy While Still Feeling the Grief. And can you tell me a little bit about your book and what inspired it?
In 2017, my 16-year-old son Joseph was killed in a car accident. Of course, it was devastating. When something like that happens, the grief is it just swamps your whole life. Nothing's normal ever again. And so to kind of help myself deal with what was happening in my life and all the changes and the new feelings and the way I looked at things, I started just kind of writing things down, not necessarily keeping a journal. Sometimes I would write it on a napkin. Sometimes I would take notes on my phone and just type it out. Sometimes I would send a text to my pastor and say, I just had this thought, this feeling. I just need to run it by you. Am I going crazy? And, I just have all these feelings and I have no idea where to put them. And so I just kept writing things and I would have it here and never dreamed to compile them into one place. It was just kind of therapy for me.
Yeah.
And so 1 year and 12 days later, we lost my daughter, Victoria. We lost Joseph. That was hard on Victoria, and we call her Tori, so you'll hear me call her Tori. She had a virus in her heart. It just attacked her heart. And we still to this day not sure what it was, but we lost her in March of 2018. And so just back to back, 1 year apart, it was a lot. And a lot to process, a lot to handle. And even while I was sitting in the hospital, she was on life support for probably almost 3 weeks before they decided she just couldn't make it. And when they decided to take her off life support, a calm just came over me. The Lord has been so good to us. And I know, we've lost 2 children. And for other people to hear me say, the Lord's been so good to us, that's hard to understand. But if you're a Christian and you know the Lord, then you know that He's all that's holding me together some days. Mm-hmm. And that has been true of my husband and my 2 remaining sons and my grandchildren. My mother and my pastor, several friends kept saying, please take these ideas that you've been writing down, all this therapy that you say you're doing for yourself, put it in a book so somebody else can read it. You can share it with people. And so finally, what pushed me over the edge, what made me finally do it, and this is 7 years after we lost Joseph, I finally wrote a book because one of our local moms and dads lost their son in a car accident. Right. Catherine and Brian, who are now very dear friends of mine, and their daughter Natalie is just, so precious. They lost their Nathan, just like we lost Joseph. And I thought, well, if I would have just written the book when everybody said so, we wouldn't be in this pickle right now. So I actually wrote the book pretty quickly because I pulled napkins out of my purse and notes from the pastor out of my purse, off of my phone. And I put my book together finally. And it was a little bit like torture, to be honest, because I had to relive all of the feelings again. And that was a lot. So, but I did make myself do it. And I handed Catherine this unbound, I think I copied it here at the library. I just ran it off and said, I need you to release the copier thing so I can print lots of pages. And she just read it from that. And there's such a bond between she and I now, and between Brian and my husband, Eric. I think that they are just going to be, like friends forever, because we just have this bond, this thing in common that God has just led us together so that we can comfort each other.
I think my biggest takeaway from reading your book was how important not only God is in your life, but how important community is. In the process of writing this book, could you talk about the importance of this community, particularly Spencer County, maybe?
Yes.
You use a lot of social media, a lot of texts, a lot of community support. You can see everyone in this book.
When a young person in a small community passes away, and we've unfortunately seen this several times since, in the past probably 30 years that I've been out here, I have seen the turnout of the community. When a young person passes, it seems like everybody in the town has had contact with that young person at some point, so they really come out in force to support the parents, to show their love for the child. And when Joseph passed away, there's kind of a numb kind of aura about, at least there was for me, and I can speak for my husband, who just kind of went on autopilot for a little bit. And I remember people just kind of flooding in a Hoagland Funeral Home down the road here. And I thought, my goodness, this is a lot of people. And we were greeting people, and people were so sweet to us and supportive to us. And golly, we were standing there just all day. And my mom came up to me and she said, honey, you're going to have to hug people faster. There's a 3-hour long line, and it's going all the way down Reeser Street. So I thought, that's a lot of people. My goodness, how many people did Joseph know? And then the same thing happened with Tori.
Wow.
And so we are so blessed to live in this small town where, yes, everybody had contact with my family at some point, because I was a photographer for 25 years, and I did a lot of pictures for folks. So I knew a lot of people, but there were people at Joe's funeral that I didn't know. He was so outgoing and so friendly. He would go to Dairy Queen before school in the mornings and sit and listen to the stories that the old fellas would tell. He's sitting with 80-year-old men, not the 18-year-old men.
Wow.
So he loved people in all walks of life, every age group. And he was a hunter and a fisher. And Victoria loved people, and she worked at a daycare, and she worked at Riverbend. And so she knew tons of people. So my kids were outgoing, yes, but our community just folds you in and loves on you. And I can't say even enough about Taylorsville Community Church. That church loved on us and took care of us and fed us. I don't know, I might not have cooked for maybe 2 months, because we had so much food given to us, and people would just come and sit with us and talk to us and and make sure we weren't alone, that we felt okay, to get to know people better, more intimately than we already knew them. They're just the dearest people, and they are, when they say they want to serve their community and love on their community, it's so true.
I'm someone who hasn't experienced the type of profound grief that I think you have.
Can I just say something to that?
Yeah.
When I wrote the book, and I was writing it for grieving parents, because I was a grieving parent, and I thought that's who's going to relate to my book. That's who it's going to help. And the more I talk to people, and it has helped a lot of people, but I think that the book may be better for people who haven't had the grief yet. Who, everybody's going to have grief in their life at some point. I am now a believer that other people need to read this book who haven't grieved yet, who are Christians, who may not think that, oh, I can still find joy even though I'm grieving. I mean, you're not going to not grieve. You're going to feel grief, but you can also find joy also while you're in the midst of that. And I think if you go in prepared, and everybody's just going to go through it at some point in their life. This kind of equips you to go, oh, I know where to go for that. And I've heard people say, well, God's not going to give you anything that you can't handle. I'm going to disagree with that just a little bit. He does give you things that you can't handle, but you can handle them with Him. So that is like the key thing there. I think a lot of people go, I'm just on my own now. I'm just going to shut down. I'm just going to grieve till I get back to normal. Normal's not coming back. So you have to turn it over to somebody who can get you through it. My pastor, Chad Goodlett, talked to me about the book. I asked him to write a review, and he was nice enough to write a review to put in the book. I said, do you think it could help anyone? Did I just write that stuff down and put it together and it's just not going to reach? And he goes, no, I really think it's going to help someone. And I said, well, you know what? If it just helps one person, it was worth doing. And lo and behold, my grandson, Waylon, came to a couple of my book signings. And Waylon is, actually, he's graduating this year.
Wow.
Tomorrow. He's graduating tomorrow. And I'm so proud of him. He's going in the Navy. But a few years ago, he was 10 when his mom died. He was 9 when Joe died. He got hit young with a lot of loss. And that, losing your mom at 10, my goodness. And you're a little boy, and you're still having to go to school, and you're going to a new school, and your living arrangements just changed. And he shut down a little bit, a lot. He shut down a lot. There were certain things we couldn't talk with him about. And so it was difficult. It was a difficult maybe 4 or 5 years for him. And we tried counseling. We tried lots of different avenues for him. And then I put a book together, and I thought maybe that could help Waylon. And I sent just that printed out manuscript from here home with Aaron, and I said, could you read this with Waylon? I said, it might take a while, but just read it with him. He had been suppressing memories of his mother because it was just hurtful to deal with. And as she read the book to him, there were tears, lots of tears from both of them, she said. And he started kind of coming around and having memories. He was having memories with his therapist, his counselor, who said, well, Waylon, I'm so proud of you. You brought that up. And he said, well, now Granny wrote about it in her book. And I think I remember some things about it. And so I thought, oh my goodness, we might be having a breakthrough. Well, fast forward to after the book is published, I'm having book signings. He's coming to every one of them. He came to the one here at the library, and not only did he sit next to me while I was reading from the book, he took over the whole book signing. It was so great. After I was done reading, he said, Granny, if it's okay, I would like to read a chapter of your book that really spoke to me and helped me. And I thought, who are you? And what'd you do with Waylon? And he took over and he took questions from the audience. It was so sweet. And it just made my heart so happy. So I know that it helped Waylon. And I'm so proud that he's just such the best young man. And I'm not going to take credit for it. His mom and dad can take credit for it, and his beautiful stepmom, but I feel like I helped. I feel like the book helped him.
I'm sure.
Get back in touch with those memories, and he was baptized and saved, and so I feel like that kind of connected him a little bit more through Jesus to his mother. So I was proud of that.
You're talking about, memories, like the non-physical world memories, and in your book, I think there is a lot of the non-physical mentioned. Angels are mentioned. What is the non-physical in your life?
The supernatural, my goodness, God himself is just omnipresent, omniscient. He is supernatural. He is everything. And so to feel, God working through the Holy Spirit around us. My grandchildren had dreams of seeing Tori, of seeing Joseph. A friend of mine had, I don't even want to call it a dream. She had I think a death experience, and they brought her back. Wow. But she saw Joseph and talked to him. And for anyone who's lost anyone, for someone to say, I talked to your loved one, it makes a mama's heart go, wow. Oh my goodness. I was excited about her experience more than she was.
Right.
And so, yes, I think that supernatural, it's just, what a blessing to have a message from heaven. Right. That's amazing. And to have, and I'm so bad at interpreting what her dream was. I thought it was for a party for a little girl, and it turned out no, it was a celebration in heaven for my grandson getting baptized. They celebrate that in heaven. It says so in the Bible. They're not tangible things. They are so outside the realm of our reality, but yet they are in our reality, in our feelings, in what is happening around us. Oh my goodness. It is just so amazing.
Do you feel that after writing this, that it got easier to talk about your experience losing Tori and Joe?
Yeah, I think so. I have had people call me, message me on Facebook, just send me messages different ways and say, can you meet with me? I just need to sit down. I just lost my son a month ago. I just need to sit down and talk to somebody who's been there, done that. And the sweetest lady, I remember it was last year on Derby Day. I guess she and I were not watching Derby that day, I don't think. We met in Bardstown, that's where she's from. And I went to her and we met. And like the moment that we locked eyes, we both just started crying. And it was just, this mutual, we're going to get this out of our system real quick.
Yeah.
And then we started talking, and she had lovely memories of her son, and I had memories of my kiddos, and I just thought, you know what? This is awesome. This helped somebody, and I'm talking now about my kids. Like, I'm so connected with them still. My Bible study leader, she tells me all the time. She goes, I just marvel that you talk about them like they're just still right there, and it's helpful to me. It's very healing to me to know they're not that far away from me. So I love talking about them. So it makes me heal even more each time I talk about them.
I think that, and maybe it is because I haven't had to deal with a profound loss, what I would consider. I think that it's sometimes hard for me to have a conversation with somebody who has, and either feel like I'm crossing a line or I'm having to tiptoe around things. I mean, do you have just some advice for either someone like me who is trying to be that person or help, or be the person who everyone is having to tiptoe around?
Well, I think I experienced that on the other end, of course.
Right.
Where people would tiptoe around. And sometimes I think that you can kind of read the room, so to speak, and go, okay, is mom talking about that? Or is this person talking about their loved one? If they are, it's open season. Yes, talk about them. They're wanting to know that you had memories about them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so there are some times where it's a little difficult for me. Maybe I'm having a bad day, and 8 years later, I still have a bad day sometimes, because sometimes the missing them just gets to be a lot, and I get a little teary. But for the most part, I'm going to say it's comforting when somebody comes and tells me a story about my child, and I might cry, but I'm going to hug you and I'm going to smile. I'm going to say thank you for sharing that, because I didn't know that about my kid before. And so that's another memory I can add to the stack. And so, yeah, I think it's good to share the memories. I know a lot of moms who have lost their kiddos now, and no mom wants to think that people have forgotten their child. And no one, no wife, no husband, wants their loved one forgotten. So the fact that you're remembering them, I think that you can do it, and to share a memory in a gentle way, and just say, what a blessing they were to me. That blesses somebody's heart. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. It seems like you created your own community with this, having written this book.
It has grown. It has. I have met so many people. When the book first came out, I actually hit a #1 bestseller on Amazon.
Wow.
And I thought, well, I did not see that coming. That's very good. And then Spencer County is really large, and I think everybody in the county bought one. Wow. And so it just, jacked up sales nicely. And then it started tapering off a little bit. And so several months later, after the fact, I was sitting in my car one day feeling bad about myself because I hadn't sold very many books. And I said, Lord, I guess the ride's over. I don't know how to really get this book out there now at this point. I need to find a new way to market. And I'll just sit here and think about that for a minute. I'm sitting in my car in my driveway, and my phone dinged. And I thought, well, let's see who's messaging me, and I look, and it is a pastor from Russell Springs, Kentucky. And it was the longest message on Facebook I've ever gotten. And he is telling me, I just read your book. I have been a pastor for over 20 years, and I'm sitting here crying, reading your book. And I thought, oh, God answers. Sometimes he waits for a minute, but sometimes he answers you quickly. And I thought, that man got my book. And I kept saying, if it just helps a few people, if it helps one person, if it helps another person, and it helped him. And I thought, thank you for showing me that I don't need to be sitting in my car feeling sorry that my book is still helping somebody.
So you self-published
I
this
did.
book.
Yep.
Do you want to talk a little bit about the process of self-publishing?
Well,
just the logistics.
Sure. I actually found a local business owner. She was over in Finchville, Kentucky. And her business was helping people publish their books. She's not a publisher, but she could get you directed to how to publish your book. She had parameters, guidelines that I followed, and I set up my own publishing company, Fishers of Men Press.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, because when I read this, I had no idea.
That sounded professional, didn't it?
Fishers of Men Press.
So
okay.
There's a lot of ways that you can self-publish. You can go straight to Amazon and Ingram Spark, and they can tell you, they will kind of guide you. Write your book, submit it, help design the cover a little bit. They don't do a whole lot on that end. Mm-hmm. So you're kind of on your own making this. And so I wanted something that looked really professionally done. I'm going to say something that people won't like. When they say don't judge a book by its cover, people do judge books by their covers. Yes. And if it doesn't look professional, I knew nobody would pick it up. So I really wanted it to look like it had been published by a company. So she helped walk me through that and had someone do the graphic design. Well, I did some of the graphic design.
Right. You're a photographer.
I did a little bit. And you can see the heart on here. Mm-hmm. In the book, Tori took a picture of a heart cloud while she was visiting Joe's grave one night. And so the sun was going down, and she goes, is that a heart? I'm seeing a heart in the sky. And so that's why the little heart cloud is on there. That's Tori. And so, yeah, I had some freedom with that. And, I got to pick the colors and everything. But yeah, she just kind of helped walk me through all that. There are Christian publishers. I think it's Christian Publishing Company is the actual name of one of the companies that I could have gone through. So for my next book, I might do such a thing.
So you do have a next book coming.
It is
what you're saying.
Maybe, yes. It's so non-related to anything like this, though. It's more related to my photography. And my husband is very kind and patient and good. And each year for my birthday, he would take me out traveling, and I was just obsessed with covered bridges. And I wanted to just photograph covered bridges. Everything in Kentucky. We hit West Virginia. We hit Pennsylvania. And then, then we had, tragedy strike our family. So I kind of laid off of that for a while. And I haven't looked at covered bridges in several years until last week. And then I thought, I'm putting a book together with all these things in it. So, yeah, it's going to be a lot of pictures and some writing. Mm-hmm. So,
where can people find your work? So, I'm on Amazon. If they just type Belinda Sheeley into Amazon, this book's going to pop up. Or of course, you can just type in the title. But
I'm on Barnes & Noble. I didn't know that for a minute. That was a surprise for me. It's on Walmart.com. But yeah, I just usually send people straight to Amazon to get the book, and they've actually been nice to work with.
Good.
I have heard otherwise, but my personal experience selling something on Amazon, they've been very nice to work with. I love that people have shared the book so much. I have ladies in my Bible study group at Southeast Christian who have just bought several, and when someone experiences grief, they're just like, here, I'm handing your book out left and right. And I love that. I love that it is used as a tool. I love that people say, it really made me realize God hasn't left me. God hasn't abandoned me during this little dark time in my life. I'm here in this misery, and I don't have to be as miserable as I thought. And so I love hearing that because it can take you over if you let it. And God doesn't want you to be so grief-stricken that you can't function. My husband and I talked with my children, my grandchildren, and I said, you know what? I said it in the hospital to Jacob the night Joseph died. I said, God's going to use this. God can use any bad situation for his good. Now, he didn't cause Joseph's accident. He didn't cause Tori to have a heart attack. But he can use those things. And he wants people to realize that he can help you get through this pain and come out on the other side helping other people. I realize when I'm serving other people, that blesses my heart. That gives me such a connection with God, because that's what Jesus, one of the last things he said before he died, do this, serve other people, serve others. Whatever you do to these other people, you're doing that to me. And so I just, the church that we go to, the friends that we have around us, we're serving people. And our church has just, like I said, they just enveloped us and served us in such a way that I know that that's true, that it's blessing on blessing to serve others. So
I think it's surprising how much people want to do something for others.
Yeah, I agree.
How often I go to my neighbors, and when we first moved in, I accidentally flooded an entire room in our new house. So I went to the neighbors and I said, can I borrow a mop? And that's such a little thing, but you could see the joy on my neighbor's face that, oh, your room is flooded, that's horrible. Like, I can do something to help you in this horribly stressful moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to remember that like, people actually, I could ask for help because people do want to help within reason, of course, but people want to help.
One of the book signings and speaking engagements that I did last summer was in London, Kentucky, at Faith Assembly of God. Rodney Goodlett called me and said, would you be willing to come down, share your book, share your testimony, just hang out with us a little while. And I made friends down there, and the people of London were so good to us. And I am hoping next week to be back in London. I love serving people. I'm not very strong anymore. I'm not going to be chopping wood or loading dumpsters with stuff, but I can cook and I can serve food. And so I'm hoping I'm going to be on the trailer with Mercy Meals. And so, yeah.
So my last question then for you, you've pretty much already answered it, but how do you find the joy while feeling the grief?
Oh my goodness, I pray a lot. I hit my knees and I pray, and God answers, and that it's a quick answer, because I think it's in your perspective. You can decide to be sad because you've lost so much, and I don't think anybody would say, oh, she's just acting like way too sad. Nobody would say that, because I probably deserve to feel that sadness, but I don't want to exist like that, in that sadness. You know what? Satan dealt our family a hard blow when Joseph's accident happened and when Tori's heart attack happened. And I have a friend who loves to say, you just flipped the script. And I did. We have flipped the script on Satan. I refuse to just let him take over. And I am going to, just, Jesus is just getting all the praise, because we had such good memories with Joe and Tori. Everybody says, oh no, he went so soon. He went at 16, and it was just, you didn't get enough time. I'm like, I got 16 whole years. Yeah. So you can be sad about what you didn't have, or you can be happy about what you did. It's your perspective, and you have to ask God for that every day, though, because it slips up on you and you go, I sure miss Joe today, but I remember doing this and I remember doing that, and I'm going to spend eternity with him. When I get to heaven, I'm going to go hug Jesus. I am. But I'm going to go hunt Joe up, and Tori, and my dad, and my grandparents. I'm excited to see all the people that we get to spend eternity with. That's going to be amazing. So it's hard not to find the joy in that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us,
joining
me after hours in the library. And we get to talk as loud as we want and about anything that we want. And it has been such a pleasure to talk with you and to read your book.
Well, thank you.
We have a copy at the library.
Yes.
So.
And on Amazon. Or you can stop by my house and get one.
So, I think that'll do it for the first episode of our video and audio
thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for doing this. I know this is a kind of awkward and strange thing, but
it was my first one, my first podcast. We'll have to do it again sometime.
Okay, we'll do.
I'll go home and write another book.